SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Brought to you by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. The National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at mohmuseum.org. Buffalo Wild Wings. If it's game day, Buffalo Wild Wings is the place to be. Alltech Lansing. Just listen with Alltech Lansing. Perfecting sound since 1927. And by SWBC Mortgage. Customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit SWBC.com. Now, your hosts.
Stand by. Live.
And happy Wednesday. Welcome into Cowboys Crosstalk live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other social media platforms. We're live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. My name is Jake Rietma from 105.3 The Fan. Honored to be filling in for Cowboys insider Bobby Belt. He's in Detroit for tomorrow's matchup. Fired up to be joined by my teammate at 105.3 The Fan, Will Chambers. And as always, we've got the three-time Super Bowl champ and six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton, and our Cowboys alum tonight, Walter Camp Award winner 1990, former All-American at Notre Dame, a 2019 College Football Hall of Fame inductee, Rocket Ismail. And I love the energy you got coming into this show, Rocket. I know we're going to talk all about this Cowboys-Lions matchup and break that down, but our conversation before we took the air was too good not to bring to the air about college football. It's conference championship weekend. Your Notre Dame Fighting Irish are right there. Haven't quite punched the ticket, but I promised you I was going to ask you a little bit about that. And Nate, I know you've got some strong feelings as well because, hey, we all play college football to get to where we want to be. Tell me a little bit about Notre Dame.
This guy did not play college ball.
That is hilarious. All right, so first of all, I do this hesitantly because I don't want to jinx anything that has not yet happened. And so since we are now on the sideline, when I say we, I'm talking about Notre Dame, since we're on the sideline waiting for the ticket to be punched like you so eloquently put it earlier, I am just hopeful that nothing that BYU and Texas Tech does messes up what potentially is an opportunity for the Irish to make it back to the playoffs. And I will say I'm very thankful that the Irish have formed their identity now, especially offensively. And I was a little worried after the A&M and the Miami game, and it was like we were still trying to figure out, what the identity was. But now with our the two-headed running back attack, and then the young Carr is the quarterback who is
he's tough,
getting better like every game. I'm wholly confident that if the playoffs avail itself, that we have a chance to make a decent run.
I love the irony also that we have one of the greatest that's ever played at Notre Dame. And when he played, Miami was a huge rival, and now they've brought that game back. And as we're looking at the precipice of the college football playoff, the two teams that are like right next to each other, and the big conversation is between should it be Notre Dame or Miami if it comes to it, if BYU wins and all that. The irony. Gotta love it.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun this weekend. Plenty of eyeballs on all the different conference championships and the implications that has going on. But before this weekend, we got a big game Thursday, and a little bit different of a Thursday night game, especially after the Thanksgiving game. The Cowboys took care of business, playing really good football right now. Nate Newton, I'll start with you. As this team continues to build some momentum, you start to look at the bigger picture of the season, and you start to talk about some playoffs and perhaps what this game means. It feels like a playoff game a little bit.
I can't.
You got me now?
Got you now.
You got me now? Let me say this right here. I started this season out not knowing the record, not knowing where the Cowboys would be. I saw them practice in training camp, and I saw them practice against the Rams, and I said, this team left a lot to be desired leaving out of training camp. Going through the Eberflus thing, trying to convince people that it wasn't Coach Eberflus. We just at that time did not have the quality of players that we needed. It's too bad that we waited until the trade deadline to get these. The two guys have literally changed the way we play football on defense, and Quentin Williams and the Wilson kid. So right now, I'm looking at it, okay, they put some building blocks in place. I'm excited about those building blocks. Playoffs, I'm not even thinking about. With me, as an ex-player, I'm thinking one game at a time. And starting with Detroit, because I started with the Raiders. I started with Philadelphia. I started with Kansas City. Now starting with the Raiders, can you handle prosperity? Can you, as a team, play enough cohesive ball to because you're playing a desperate team. You are a desperate team. What separates that desperation? It ain't so much the talent. I think it's head and head on the talent. Now, will you do the extra film work? Will you do the extra things that will make you a winner come tomorrow night? And it'll show. It'll show.
We've talked about this over years together.
Right.
And it's interesting. That's one of the key themes that we've always talked about when it comes to the Cowboys is, are you able to handle prosperity?
Yeah.
And the Cowboys clearly, who's the more desperate team, right? You've heard that being asked this week. Well, technically the Cowboys are, because they pretty much have to win out or just lose one game. And this isn't even the game to lose, but it feels like Detroit's probably more desperate. You got one team that's going like this. The trajectory is up. You got one team that trajectory is going down. We thought last week, and really that 5 games of beating the former Super Bowl participants is going to show you what the Cowboys are. These are the games, especially this one coming up, that shows us more than anything else, and the thing that I think Cowboys fans have been clamoring for years, show us what you're made of. This is a game that they should have. This is really lining up for them. And so, can you handle the prosperity? I couldn't agree more with you.
Rocket, my question to you is simply this right here. You've been in big games, and I'm talking about your college career, where your last 3 or 4 games, y'all was fighting for the top 4 spots. How did you feel as a college player being in that situation where every week was big, and how did you handle it?
Wow. So when I was in college, I was blessed. I would say prior to college, after my father died, I was blessed with a mantra that as a 10-year-old boy, I took with me all throughout high school and then into the college ranks. And and here's the mantra: I'm always in the right place at the right time. And so in college, there was always a confidence that I had because of 2 things. I was always confident. It seemed like Coach Holtz always knew what to say. He always knew what to do. And if it didn't succeed, it usually was a mistake that a player made.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. The second thing, every time I looked around the room, I probably felt how you would feel on those Super Bowl teams,
right,
where you were like, oh, yo, he's a man, he's a grown man,
right,
he's a grown A man.
right.
Like everybody you look at, you're like, oh, man, why I'm so nervous? Let me calm down, like that kind of thing.
Right.
So I had that type of feeling. And then, however the game turned out, especially if there was like a big moment where somebody had to step up,
right,
I would always feel confident that, oh man, if I got the opportunity to be a part of whatever that big moment was, more times than not, I was going to succeed. And I'm gonna say this, I say this just by watching the body language and feeling the spirit of this young man. I feel like of all the guys in that Cowboys locker room, I feel like George Pickens feels like man, just give me a chance. Just let me just get the ball in my hands, and something good is going to, like, I feel every time I see him, I feel so hopeful and excited. I'm my God, like it always, and so I feel like I can relate to him, 30 years ago. Right. So it's like that, that's how I felt. That's the spirit that I suspect the Cowboys have.
I think we're hearing that. Aren't we, Nate?
Yeah. I suspect that that's the spirit the Cowboys have, and I feel like it's going to serve them well, and I don't feel like dread, or I don't feel like, oh, man, we got to play these guys. Yeah. Like, I don't feel that anymore.
Well, I think
not at least for a month.
Yeah, right. I think Cowboys fans share that same sentiment, because you're talking about a team that made such a whole 180 change from how they were playing at the beginning of the year to how they're playing now. And I wanted to ask both you guys, Rocket and Nate here, when a team makes some in-season moves that significantly impact them, and forget which player it is, obviously, with the
last time we had that impact, it was Amari Stoudemire. We went in and traded for him.
Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, yeah.
Stoudemire.
Yeah. Amari Stoudemire was posting up for the New York Knicks. I was like, hey, he'd be a heck of a receiver. Maybe even a tight end.
Amari Cooper, excuse me, boy. Bama bred. I know. SEC. Wow, Miami kid. But that's the last time. But go ahead, sir. I cut you off.
No. But the point being, what kind of life can that breathe into a team when maybe you're in a little bit of a funk, and all of a sudden you've got some new players that can positively impact the team? What does that do for everybody else?
Okay, I'm just going to go with the scenario that I, in person, didn't experience, but I experienced by watching, cowboy documentaries. And to your point, the life that Charles Haley brought when he came to the Cowboys, and that the expectation that, okay, this is the missing piece. And it became that, and the success that came from that I, by watching, was excited to see, and I'm sure in the locker room nowadays, that's the same feeling that guys have if you bring somebody in there who can make a difference.
That's called an A-plus player with an A-plus attitude that values team play first. What we were battling, what this team was battling from my outside looking in, was they had no leadership. They had Dak, but Dak was fighting elements even in his own locker room. Now when you bring in a Quinny Williams, and the first 3 interviews, you hear him say, I'm glad to be here. I'm here to do a job. I want to do my job. This is an A-plus player, bro, that has earned his stripes and then went through the bad times. I mean, we can lose all our games as Cowboys and we'll never be Jets. You see? Yeah. We'll never be Jets.
Shots fired.
Yeah,
the truth. The truth.
He comes here where he is truly wanted. Mr. Jones know how to put on a show. So, he picked him up with the biggest limo probably longer than the airport. You know what I'm saying? Brought him up in here with his family. Probably brought him up here where we're sitting at and said, order what you want, son. You with the Cowboys, A1. They came out and won the first game. With dominated. Then they came out and played a Philly game, shot them out in the second half. And this kid, next interview was, I'm doing my job. I'm glad to be here with these guys, and they're allowing me to do my job. And Eberflus, he saved your job. You get what I'm saying? When you get an A-plus player, and that's who Charles was. And then that's who Deion Sanders was.
Wow.
When you get A-plus players and they come in and do their job, what is a grunt going to do? What is Nate going to do? I'm a root hog and do my job.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I think that Brian Schottenheimer takes a lot of credit, for the mentality of this football team to start out at, 3-5-1. Only 12 teams in the history of the NFL have won 3 games in their first 9 and made it to the playoffs. And the Cowboys have never done it. I don't know, and going back, because there was a couple teams, I think in 23 or 24, it was the Packers and the Rams. And I don't remember those teams exactly, because in my memory, I can't recall a team that, definitely on one side of the ball, that was so inept and seemed so lost, and there was just no chance, just the hope that they could get somewhat mediocre that would be enough because of how good the offense was to now turn around. And you got a team that, since the trade deadline and the bye week, they're like 9th in the NFL in third down. They were dead last. It's like 20 percentage points as to where they're stopping teams on third down. It hasn't become a mediocre defense. It's become actually a good defense paired with an offense that had actually, when they got healthy, they started tripping up a little bit. This misdirection, I don't know, Nate, if you can remember a team in the past that's been able to do this. I don't think I've ever seen this before, and it has me feeling like the Cowboys can play and beat, at right now, anybody in the NFL.
The thing about it is, when you look at the Denver game, 44-24, you look at Arizona, they beat us 27-17. And then the next 3 games, our defense give up 16, 21, and 28, and that was to a Kansas City team to 28. I tell people like this.
And, no rushing yards.
Yeah. The thing is, it's been teams over the years that have brought impact and players that have brought impact. But for a team to go dead last in scoring, dead last in turnovers, dead last in sacks, I mean, we were either 31 or 32 in every major category defensively. And this is what this Quentin Williams kid did. This
and
is
Logan Wilson.
Logan Wilson done just by lining up and not accepting. I don't know where to line up at. Now, we're not accepting that anymore. You don't play. Go check the stats of the last 3 games where our safeties have been in and out because they're looking for the guys that want to do what we're asking you to do.
Get Malik Hooker back as well.
Yeah,
was a big thing
but the thing about it, Malik was getting beat. Donovan Wilson was getting beat, out of position, before they got hurt. And I tell people it's right here. When your top players come in and say, do your job, we're not accepting. You got to remember 8 weeks ago we heard an interview like this. Hey, man, we're a man team. We're not a zone team. Oh, man, God, why are we playing zone? What? I'm like, bro, you got to at least try. Now, this guy went to IR, and I don't hear nobody mentioning his name. Come on, bro, do your job.
We're going to continue diving into this matchup and where the Cowboys might have an advantage against the Detroit Lions when we come back. Lots more to get into right here on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk, right here on the Cowboys Radio Network.
Clear.
At SWC, customized
Packages
solutions for
Dallas
individuals
Cowboys
and
Crosstalk.
businesses are just a click away. Visit SWC.com to learn more
the Star
and
in Frisco.
start your next adventure. Welcome back to the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. It's the SWC Cowboys Crosstalk. We're coming to you live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other associated social media platforms. My name is Jake Rietma from 105.3 The Fan. Honored to be filling in for Cowboys insider Bobby Belt. Of course, we've got my teammate at 105.3 The Fan, Will Chambers. And as always, we've got the three-time Super Bowl champion and six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton, joined tonight by College Football Hall of Famer Rocket Ismail. And Rocket, I'm do my best not to just talk college football the entire night. As promised, I got to pay off the tees.
We don't have a problem with that, do we, Nate?
Yeah, I'm saying Will would love that.
Yeah.
Will's a huge college football guy, but listen, we'll maybe save some time for that at the end, because right now, before we went to break, we were talking about just the 180 that this team has made. And you could make the case that it's been with the addition of some really key pieces defensively. Now, as we zoom in on this matchup, the Detroit Lions are going the exact opposite direction. This is a team that's lost 4 of their last 7 games, and everything that made the Lions who they were the last 2 years, especially under Dan Campbell, that grittiness, that tenacity, you're starting to see
the offensive line.
Yes, you're starting to see it evaporate a little bit. And this is a team that lost to Green Bay on Thanksgiving. And I think just to tee it up from the beginning, these two teams, the Cowboys and the Lions, from a scheduling perspective, both played on Thanksgiving, so you don't get the mini bye. It's a week turnaround. What is that process like as a former player, when you can stick to that routine and you're not necessarily upended in a short week? I think that's going to be a big opportunity, a big advantage for the Cowboys.
It gives both teams a chance to heal on their regular schedules. You know what I'm saying? The trainers to get to work with the players that are banged up. But I tell people, this is the problem with Detroit. For the last 3 years, they've been a dominant team. And I always believe when you got good players, now you need to coach. But also when you get that good coach, you can't lose a Ragnow. You can't lose your tight end.
Right.
You can't lose your best receiver. I can't think of the kid's name.
I'm on Brown.
You can't lose him or get him banged up in a serious way where you got to adjust his route tree. And then Ben Johnson is his name with the bat. This guy was so key. He freed Coach Campbell up to coach the rest of the team and to go where he was needed most. Now, Coach is taking back the play calling duties, and your team is kind of shaky right now. The same reason, and I don't want to knock this kid because he's done a major job with Detroit, but the quarterback, that is the same. Now, what they was asking him to do with the Rams, now Detroit is kind of asking him, hey, we need to put our team on your shoulders. He's not that type of guy. He's a carpenter.
I think that the biggest difference is somebody that you mentioned who's actually going to be, we thought, coming back until he failed the physical, and that was Ragnow at center. When you've got a pocket passer like Jared Goff,
yes, sir,
the way to get after a player like that is so efficient from the pocket is getting pressure up the middle. Anytime that we saw anybody actually getting to Tom Brady or some of those, that just like to operate within the pocket, that's how you get to them. And without that protection, that's really been the biggest issue, I think, for Detroit this year, because when you look at them, when he has dropbacks, they're a top 10 offense as far as on target. Right? It's like 83%. Right. Under pressure, these are the teams that are better than Detroit when the quarterback is under pressure as far as hitting their targets. The Browns, the Saints, the Jaguars, the Broncos. I mean, those are not elite passers like Jared Goff can be, and I think that's the biggest issue that they've had this year.
The stark contrast of a Lions offense that's in rhythm, giving Goff time to throw, the run, setting up the play-action pass. It, like you said, it's night and day. But, Rocket, I want to ask you a question about kind of what the situation is with the Detroit Lions. So we mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's their go-to wide receiver. Gets hurt in the Thanksgiving game. Likely not going to play. Still up in the air. We'll call it questionable, if you will. And so that opens the door for Jameson Williams for the Detroit Lions. He's a speed guy. He's a deep threat. what is it like on a wide receiver when all of a sudden you kind of lose that other dynamic duo, the second member, and you have to be the guy? Because I think that's really what the Detroit Lions are looking at right now from a passing game perspective. They really only have Jameson Williams, because you mentioned Laporta out as well. So as the wide receiver, do your eyes kind of light up as you're the guy, but at the same time you got to understand that you have a huge role to play as the only weapon?
So I can relate in as much that, so Amon-Ra is the number one guy for Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in 99 when I got here talking to Mike, he was so happy because he was showing me, he was like, hey man, this is how they're reducing my production, and these are the other team, this is what the other team's defenses do. So when you get here, he was diagramming, he's like, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be able to take the top off. I'm one-on-one. Now I'm back to me.
Right.
The same thing, I suspect, is what's happening. And it's the other thing. It's interesting, the comparison, because Amon-Ra, he's the energy leader.
Absolutely.
Right.
Offensively.
And Jameson is not the leader.
It's a man. And so for me, Mike was, I understood what it meant when somebody would say, hey man, so-and-so is the heart of the team.
Right.
I totally understood it because when he got injured, it was just like, oh man, there's a cavernous deficit that I'm staring at right now. And yeah, I'm fast and I can run good routes, and Troy can still get the ball to me, and Emmett can still run up. But man, when your heart, it felt like hollow as far as just when you got into the locker room pregame.
There's a spirit that's missing.
Man, Mike. So Amon-Ra, he represents that as well. So that's more than an X's and O's deficit. That is the spirit, the confidence, the inspiration, like all of that is in jeopardy. So I like their coach though. Unlike the coach that we had, they have like a spirited former player, so he can make up for it a little bit. But I think the biggest deficit that they're going to face in Detroit is the spirit that Amon-Ra brings to the table.
And those are things you can't measure, like you're saying. You can't quantify that. You can say, all right, we don't have this part of the game plan and everything, but to your point, some of those characteristics are unable to be measured and unable to be quantified.
You look at their secondary beat up. The safeties are beat
gone.
up.
Yeah.
Joseph. And I saw like their safeties have been hurt all year. They've been pushing forward. And about 7-8 games ago, I told my wife, I say, these safeties should sit down for a week or two and get healthy, because you don't get better as the season goes, especially if you have an injury. You don't get better. You just maintain and trying to get through. Now it's really hurting their team. It really is hurting their team, their safety players. And so that opens the door for Pickens. That opened the door for CD. That gives Ferg a chance to get average more than 5 yards a catch.
And this is all leading back to the point you were making in the last segment, right?
Yeah.
All the stuff that we're talking about, the Cowboys have got to capitalize on this.
Yes, they do.
They absolutely have to. This is totally set up for them. I mean, Pickens, CD, and Dak right now are cooking. Ferguson, too, honestly.
Yeah.
The whole offense just seems to be in such a rhythm, and outside of Aiden Hutchinson, it's just been such a struggle, on defense for the Lions this year.
Well, they can't get pressure, which is a huge issue, and combined with the philosophy defensively from Kelvin Shepard and the Lions, they want to play a lot of man coverage. No other team in the NFL plays more man coverage.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, other than the New York Jets. And so when you're asking guys to cover somebody for 4 or 5 seconds, I mean, Jordan Love for the Green Bay Packers, say what you will, he had all day on Thanksgiving to throw 4 different touchdowns. So, Rocket, we'll wrap this segment by asking you this. as a wide receiver, knowing everything about a game plan in this instance where this team loves to play man coverage, but they can't get pressure on the quarterback. As a receiver, knowing that going into a game, I mean, your eyes got to be this big. You got to be licking your chops.
It depends how good the quarterback is, and if that was my quarterback, I would definitely be licking my chops.
Absolutely. It's the Cowboys Crosstalk program right here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. When we come back, we'll continue taking a look at this matchup, maybe zoom out a little bit and do some playoff picture conversation as well. Don't go anywhere. It's the SWC Cowboys Crosstalk right here on the Cowboys Radio Network.
SWBC Mortgages, Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk. Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
And start your next adventure. And hey, if you want to use what the pros use, about Jack Black, the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. That's visit getjackblack.com today. Welcome back to the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. We're coming to you live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other associated social media platforms. My name is Jake Rietma from 105.3 The Fan. I'm honored to be filling in for Cowboys insider Bobby Belt. Fired up to be joined by 105.3 The Fan teammate Will Chambers, and as always, we've got the three-time Super Bowl champ and six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton, and our guest tonight, the 2019 College Football Hall of Famer Rocket Ismail. And guys, as former players, we can have these conversations. Obviously, they're not going on within in the locker room, but when you look at the turnaround that this Cowboys team has made and the path that they're on, having won the last 3 games, and again, I don't want to get carried away by any means, but if they continue to take care of business, if they continue the upward trajectory that they're on, we're looking at one of the dramatic turnarounds that a team has done within a season. And again, we don't have to get carried away with playoffs by any means, but that becomes part of the conversation. Yeah, let's have a little fun.
Hey, man, it's nothing wrong with being happy.
I just didn't want to get in trouble by saying, hey, playoffs, and end up like Jim Mora's playoffs. But at the same time, like this.
Well, Nate's right. You know, like what Nate said earlier, as a player, you know, you guys, you took it game by game.
You in this case, you really do, because if this was the first half of our schedule, and that, you know, where it's some teams you should have beat. You know, we look back now, the Bears. Oh my, well, the Bears is better than we thought. Or Carolina, wow, they clicking now. But
sure.
At that time, we were supposed to get on those two teams, and we didn't. So if we was playing those teams now, they were normally who they used to be, we would be like, oh, yeah, playoffs. I would be like, yeah, man, if we can't beat the Bears in Carolina. But this is 2 Super Bowl participants that we just beat.
In 5 days.
Yeah, and so that's why you can't slip now, because if you lose to Detroit, all that hard work, man, all that dedication, all that, right, and you slipped. You know, because Detroit is hurt.
Yeah.
It ain't just a physical thing right now. They trying to find a mental swag. They trying to get it. And believe me, Dan, Will Lord, you know. So he growling everything.
He wants to bite some kneecaps.
Yeah. So what do you think about that, my friend?
Man, I feel like everything that you just said is appropriate, and I'm going to stick with what I said at the top of the segment. Nothing wrong with being happy.
Right.
Nothing wrong with having hope. Nothing wrong with good vibrations and expectations. And I'm not going to be braggadocious about it.
Right,
and
right.
I'm not going to be annoying to people if I'm reading the room and they seem like they're annoyed with my exuberance.
Right.
But, man, I'm excited. I'm excited. Even though I'm calm, but like you said, one game, I'm excited for this one game. And I'm excited that Detroit is a little vulnerable and we have some momentum.
All right, well, here, being the shock jock that Nate knows that I am here, I will go there a little bit. And you and I have worked together over many years. I'm going to just try to say, what is it right now? If I look at the top 5 teams in the NFL, and I throw records out, and I'm like, okay, who's going to beat this team? Who's not going to beat this team? In my opinion, there's like 2 or 3 teams ahead of the Cowboys, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just like how they played the last 3 weeks.
Right.
If you're going to do the blindfold neutral site, that whole deal.
Right. And if they are to come back and to make the playoffs, this will be a dramatic run, as you put it, Jake, that we have not seen before with the Cowboys. And it will be such a story. I mean, the Cowboys are already the lead story in the NFL regardless. Now you're adding the Cowboys onto the fact that they could be a 3-win team after 9 games that goes into the playoffs. And then the questions come in. Can this team perform like they did in the regular season in a playoff game? Because that, until we see that is going to be a stigma that's not going to leave Dak and not going to lead a lot of these other players.
Run off some of the stuff.
I was saying, let's have some fun with some numbers, because I got a couple here, and I know my guy Will Chambers always does as well. The Cowboys currently, this according to the Athletics Playoff Simulator, have a 22% chance to make the playoffs. Now, they run the table. That goes up to 98%. So, pointing out the obvious a little bit there.
Well, yeah. So, we all look at it that the Cowboys, at the most, have 1 game to lose. If they lose a game, you look at the remaining schedule and you're like, okay, you feel favorable when it comes to Washington, when it comes to the Giants. You got the Chargers on the schedule and you've got the Lions. You don't want the NFC loss. So if one of those losses happens to be tomorrow night, your chances are below 50% even if you win the rest of those games. However, if you win all the games and lose one and it happens to be the Chargers, you're at a little bit above 50%. But I'll say this right now, the confidence that I think I have in this team obviously comes from how the defense has played over the last few weeks. But Dak Prescott has this year the most yards, most completions, most first down completions. He's the best on third down. He's got the best completion percentage under pressure, and he's the only quarterback in the NFL who has completed 60% or better in a game in each and every game this year. I've never seen Dak play this good. I was skeptical coming into the year because I was worried about the ankle and, the progression of that as the years go by. He's been sensational. But again, Nate, I'll bring it up because Nate said it. Can you handle prosperity? And this is where the Cowboys have faltered over the years. They got lucked into getting, what was it, the 2 seed 2 years ago?
2 years ago?
Yeah,
2023.
Yeah.
Those 2 seasons, even though they went 12-5, they were 2-2 down the stretch. They won't be able to go 2-2 down the stretch, but they were still a very good team that played horribly in the playoffs. This is lined up to be wild.
The other part of that, too, is you look around, and obviously the path to the playoffs through the wild card makes a lot of sense, but Philadelphia Eagles are not playing great football right now. And that type of effect that they can have, and, you don't do too much scoreboard watching by any means, but that's not out of the realm of possibilities either.
Yeah, what do you guys, let me ask you both about that.
What is their record?
Because, it's good. And
what is Philadelphia's record?
8-3?
They just lost again to the Bears. Let's see, that put them at right now.
Because they're still leading the division.
8-4, yeah, 8-4. So they're a game and a half up because of that tie.
When you guys have ever played teams, I'm sorry, Rocket, go ahead.
No. Well, I just wanted to circle back before we get too far away from the point you made earlier as you were reading the stats and everything regarding Dak and just the way things are turning out and manifesting. I'm going to go back this offseason. Coach Ottenheimer invited all of the old guys to come back and just participate in one day of OTAs. And I mean from the first team meeting to the breakout meetings to getting on the field, eating with like the whole nine. And during the team meeting, which was kind of bizarre to me because it was like typically you feel like you're going to the office and it's like very stern, focused, whatever. Man, this thing felt like a carnival of football fantasies and delights. But this is the thing.
A football carnival.
So I'm reading the room of all the young men and everything, and there was one point where Coach put something on the massive movie screen and said, okay, Dak, break this, whatever we talked about in this protection or this new concept we're going to add today, break it down for the team and present it. And when he stood up and he started speaking, 2 things came to my mind. Grace and authority. And that's not something that I take lightly when I sense those type of things. So I'm watching them, and it just when I say grace, think of favor and think of power to accomplish what you've been put on this earth to accomplish. So, and then the authority to do the same. So fast forward, have the meeting, whatever. We go out onto the field. Now I'm down there with him when they're doing the receiver and quarterback drills, and it kept coming back to me, grace and authority. So I walked over to him. I said, hey, man, FYI, and I shared with him some insights, and those were a part of it. And he looked at me, and it was like, you know how you guys are talking about handling prosperity and being able to have what it takes so that it doesn't overwhelm you. I'm telling you, it felt like he was so grounded and so in tune, and it was like he knew it, and he was thankful for it, and he was thankful for me recognizing it. And then when I saw just the first game, and I was like, oh snap! What this cat is on fire. I expected that what you just read earlier in the segment was going to be the results that we saw on the field. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, and also to go into, I mean, it's a great point. It's kind of where I was going to lead you guys to ask about Philadelphia, because it doesn't seem that that's what we're seeing, right? Grace and authority. If I were to put 2 words together as to what we hear from the Philadelphia locker room, those 2 words would be very far from that.
So watch this. man, they don't have a Michael Irvin. And I know I might be redundant, but remember I talked about the spirit? Like, there's certain characters on the team that even if they're chaotic, they have a strong presence. And there has to be somebody, and ideally it's a player, there has to be somebody who can step to a player that is a strong character, but right now he's kind of chaotic and he's bringing that spirit to the locker room, and somebody can step to him and say, hey man, I feel you, but this is not the time, this is not the way, let's get it right, let's straighten back up. And I don't sense that Philadelphia has that guy, and a lot of times people will just assume it's the quarterback, but that's not necessarily the case.
Well, have you guys been in locker rooms like that where you've been able to reel it in?
Yeah, Mike Irvin. You know.
Right.
Yeah. But I asked a question before my man went into about philosophy.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
All I want to know is what is Philadelphia's record and who do they have to play to close out? Because we are 6-5-1. They are 8-3.
8-4.
8-4. The bottom line is the first one to 10, bro.
Yeah. And it's a tougher road for Philly.
Yeah, but who do they play?
They do have the Commanders twice, but then you get into the scoreboard watch.
Well, right. But they play at Buffalo.
Yes, they do have to play at Buffalo. The Raiders on there as well, though.
Then they have the Broncos.
The scheduling
Right now, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
See, that's the overall thing, Rocket.
Okay.
When I'm looking at, that's why I say the Cowboys have to cherish every game. Because where Philadelphia's schedule finishes, I know they are struggling,
Yeah.
but a couple of these teams,
They better beat the Chargers Monday night.
They're going to struggle right into the playoffs.
No doubt.
And then everybody's equal. Everybody's equal.
They're going to be arguing all the way in the wild card round.
Oh, I love it. All right, we'll tie a bow on this when we come back. That's next on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk Show on Cowboys Radio Network. At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit SWBC.com to learn more and start your next adventure. Welcome back to the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. We are coming to you live right here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other social media platforms. My name is Jake Rietma from 105.3 The Fan. I'm honored to be filling in for Bobby Belt, Cowboys Insider. That's because he's in the Motor City before the Cowboys take on the Detroit Lions. We got Will Chambers. Yeah, he did say it's snowing. He said
he's got a hoodie.
He said it's snowing, and you guys know I'm a Michigan native, so I gave him all the warning signs and told him everywhere to be aware of. So we got 3-time Super Bowl champion, 6-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton. We got the 2019 College Football Hall of Famer Rocket Ismail with us right now. I'll start with that. I mean, the Lions play inside a dome, so Ford Field, they don't have to worry about how cold it is, but it's snowing right there in Detroit. And what was, if you remember, one of the coldest games you guys ever played in?
The coldest game I ever played in North America was Winnipeg.
That just sounds, say no more, the Canadian Football League.
It was the 1991 Grey Cup. It was November, and it was the first time in my life I saw a football make a chemical change because of the elements. And the leather quite literally became glass-like.
Jeez.
Like literally throwing a wine vase. It was crazy. So that was the coldest game I've ever been in. In North America, coming a little south, was when we played AFC Championship game against Green Bay. And I remember it was like minus 30 or something like that, or not minus 30. Maybe it was like minus 15 or something. And I just remember being as warm as I could get.
Right.
I come out the locker room for pre-game warm-ups. And so I typically jog straight down, then I go to my little individual, then what have you. Man, by the time I jogged out of the locker room and got to like the 50, I couldn't feel my feet, not my toes, my literal foot on each leg.
Wow.
I couldn't feel my feet. My nostrils were ice-ridden. So now I'm breathing out of my mouth. I get to the end zone, and something in me was like, oh, hell no. The devil is a lie.
Right.
I will not suffer to be a fool. I ran right back up into the locker room and stayed in there until after they called the national anthem was played. And then when I came back out, my coach was like, hey, man, where were you?
All this I'm thinking about Nate Newton, the Southeastern guy. Did Canada ever broach the subject?
No. We played in Green Bay towards the end of my career, and I hurt my knee. It was so cold. It was cold, and I hurt my knee. And they took me in right before halftime, and Daniels, Britt Daniels?
Yeah, Brett.
He looked at me, and he was finna ask me, hey, you think he didn't even finish. He like, I know you're done.
Say no more.
He went and asked me, hey man, we gonna wrap it. We gonna do this. He said, you think? And I'm looking at him like,
man. And so here's another Green Bay for you. I'm with the Raiders at this point, and we went to Green Bay. So it's like an enhanced coldness because you're coming from like 70 degrees being the lowest, and all of a sudden you're thrown into Green Bay, and it's in the end of the season. Ooh. The doggone mud on the field froze. It was like a reverse
like
icicle.
Spikes?
Right.
Yeah, like literally it was spikes all over the field. And I knew we were in trouble because all of us had like fur coats on underneath our doggone jerseys.
Yeah.
Right.
And their number one player, a guy by the name of Sterling Sharp, he comes trotting out the locker room, had no sleeves on. His arms were looking like legs. He had like, all he had was like a layer of like petroleum jelly, Vaseline. He looked diesel. his legs, he didn't have no pads in his pants, no long johns or anything, and his socks were all rolled down, and he was just out there like, I was like, oh, we are in trouble.
Yeah,
we ended up
you got to
being
get
in
out.
Yeah, man, this has been awesome. I mean, that's a good thing the game tomorrow is played in a dome. I can't wait for that. And Dak,
advantage Cowboys, though.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Yeah, they're going to be able to go wild on that Lions defense. Looking forward to that. But my thanks to Rocket Ismail, my thanks to Nate Newton and Will Chambers. This has been the Cowboys Crosstalk Show presented by SWBC Global. Thanks so much for tuning in right here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
At AT&T, we guarantee network.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?